Hey there YouTube, I know I said that I'd continue with my Attack of the Spiderformers videos yesterday, but YouTube were doing site maintenance, so I didn't bother. Waited till today. Now the next toy in my list is one that I underestimated for the longest time. I think the mistake I was making is comparing it to its predecessor, and its predecessor, a previous incarnation of the character, is one of the finest Transformers toys ever made. It could be the finest Transformers toy ever made, and you'll see what I mean because I'm going to be reviewing it directly after this version. This rather beautiful piece of work is Beast Machine's Black Arachnia, which was gifted to me actually by the ever stupendous and recently resurrected I Love Mess Ray. Up until the point where I got my hands on it, I kind of regarded it as an inferior follow-up to Transmetal 2 Black Arachnia, which will be coming up shortly, and I know I've done it before, I don't give a shit. It's a toy that is worth reviewing twice. It's that stupendous. But yeah, this is a prime example of everything that's good about Beast Machines. Okay, it is not up to the standard of Transmetal 2 Black Arachnia, I will say that now. But as a toy in its own right, it's very, very beautiful. There are multiple gems in Beast Machines, alright. I know it doesn't rank very high in most Transformers fans' esteem, but either as a TV show or as a toy line, both of which baffle me, quite frankly. There are issues with the toy line. It wasn't as dedicated as Beast Wars, that is absolutely so, and there are real issues with things like scale and the massively varying quality of the toys. It really is strange in that regard. There are toys in Beast Machines that are the worst Transformers ever produced. Ever. They give the Action Masters a run for their money in terms of sheer awfulness. Silverbolt is a very good example. But there are toys in the line that are also gems. Absolute gems. And the cartoon as well. I mean, I know the cartoon gets a really bad rap amongst Transformers fans, but I love it. I think it's at least as good as Beast Wars. At least as good as Beast Wars. Okay, the ending is crap. The ending is just awful, but the body of the show is so sophisticated for a children's cartoon. The ideas that it tackles in a very adult manner, and the character development is wonderful. It does have, like all cartoon shows, it has its issues, but as a running story, I think it is absolutely superb. Yeah, this is definitely one of the gems from Beast Machines. The thing is that Beast Machines is also one of the very few toy lines where I'm interested primarily in the good guys. The Maximals have all the cards in Beast Machines. They are just such interesting toys. They've gone for a really bizarre aesthetic. They're trying to the whole thing with the Maximals in Beast Machines is that they're supposed to be the perfect fusion of technology and organic components. They are techno-organic robots. Interesting concept, I'm sure you'll agree. So that's what they've gone for. Creatures that are neither explicitly organic or mechanical. They're sort of bizarre hybrid in between, even more so than the Beast Wars toys. The Beast Wars toys tend to separate their organic components from their technological. These don't. They sort of bleed into one another, and this is a fair example. I mean, it looks like a toy spider. It looks like some sort of bizarre alien toy spider. It doesn't look like it transforms into a robot at all, and it's very, very beautiful. They're very surreal, the Maximals from this line as well. They are really strange, eccentrically designed, and very, very distinct. There is nothing quite like them in all of Transformers, or in toys in general. They are really, really unusual. Yes, this is Black Arachnia. Do I really need to go into her character? Black Arachnia, she was originally a Maximal Protoform who was reprogrammed by the Predacon Tarantulas into a Predacon. And she was a bloody good one as well. She is a sort of femme fatale stereotype. She's clever, duplicitous, cunning, manipulative. Very, very much stronger and much more capable in combat than she sometimes lets on. Eventually she has a change of heart as a result of her relationship with the Maximal Silverbolts, of all the characters she could fall in love with, and becomes sort of an honorary Maximal, I think it's fair to say. She still isn't quite there. She isn't quite at home with the Maximal ideals. In Beast Machines, however, her character has a very peculiar arc where it fulfills the role that Silverbolt did in Beast Wars. In Beast Wars, Silverbolt is constantly trying to remind her of her Maximal heritage and of the inner goodness and all of this utter tripe. Whereas in Beast Machines, where Silverbolt is captured by Megatron and is reformatted into the Vehicon Jetstorm, it's the other way around. It's her trying to remind Silverbolt of his noble heritage, and it's quite a nice character arc, really. She's still one of the more rebellious Maximals. She doesn't follow orders, she does her own thing, and she's rather predatory. There are several scenes in Beast Machines where she captures Vehicons, and although it's not stated, it is implied that she sucks the energon out of them, which is nice. She retains a dark side, which is lovely. Also, in the expanded universe, which I really like, I like this idea, she and Silverbolt are captured by Unicron, and Unicron reawakens her inner Predacon. In fact, she becomes a Decepticon in the expanded universe. Black Arachnia becomes a bad guy again, and the way she sees it as the awakening of her true nature, and that's the way I see it as well. She's a Predacon. She makes a much better Predacon than she does a Maximal, so there. And it would be her ultimate redemption if there were a story where she hunts down Silverbolt and rips him to pieces. I would very much like to see that. Anyway, that's Black Arachnia, and this is her Beast Machines incarnation. It's very beautiful. Very, very beautiful indeed. It's a highly realistic spider. More so than any of the spider forms that have gone before, really. It's very reminiscent of certain species of cave spider that tend to have this spindly, long-legged thing going on. What's interesting about her is that she has pedipalps that are like male spiders. Male spiders have their sex organs here at the front, and it's a way you can tell male spiders from female spiders. They tend to be very prominent on male spiders, as they are here, which is odd. Not only is she reformatted by the Oracle computer, she is, or it seems that it also confuses her gender somewhat, which is interesting. That's two confused Transformers in terms of their gender that I reviewed in recent weeks, Tigerhawk being the other. Anyway, it's very, very beautiful. The colour scheme is fantastic, and the sculpt of that abdomen, I mean, look at it. It looks like an ornament, a gem, something that you would wear or something like that. It is absolutely beautiful. And she also has this rather strange thing going on. Highly detailed head portion here. But it's translucent. You can see onto internal workings, which is kind of interesting. If you mess about with her pedipalps, then her jaws go up and down, and these stunted forelimbs also move. Interesting gimmick, a little redundant, to be honest. It doesn't need that, and it's not that effective anyway, but still quite nice. Very, very articulated, as are all the Beast Machines Maximals. All of them are massively articulated. This thing will move in any which way you want. So yeah, that is Beast Machines Black Arachnia in her very, very, very lovely spider mode. I mean, this is the mode I display her in because it exemplifies Black Arachnia much better than her robot mode. And it is really beautiful. I mean, I misjudged it completely from afar. It's a very beautiful toy. You need to get it in hand. In fact, I would advise getting a repaint of her. There's a repaint of her called Crystal Widow, which is, I believe, is it an Autobot or is it a Decepticon? It's one or the other. It's not a Maximal or a Predacon. It's from the Expanded Universe fan wankery. And it's very, very, very gorgeous indeed. Right then, on to her robot mode. And there she is, Beast Machine's Black Arachnia in her really, quite surreal but very, very cool robot mode. Again, this is something about the Beast Machine's Maximals that I really love but which other people seem to react against. They are really distinct. They've gone for such an unusual aesthetic for the Beast Machine's Transformers, the Maximals in particular. It is somewhat alien, even compared to the very strange molds that we had in Beast Wars. The Beast Machine's Maximals are very, very unusual, and it puts a lot of people off. It takes a while to get used to them. Some of them fail, they really do. Some of them just don't work. But there are real gems, and this is definitely one of them. She's so strange. Very obviously a female Transformer, which is nice, but she lacks the what I suppose you could call the overt sexism of many of the Transformers molds. It's not just Transformers, it's toy molds basically, since they tend to be made for, and indeed by, sexually repressed people. At least stereotypically so. They tend to go overboard with the protuberant breasts and the waspish waists and the high heels and bollocks like that, quite frankly. This doesn't really suffer from that. Yes, it has very obvious breasts, but only insofar as it's supposed to because it's female. Why a robot spider would have mammary glands for, I don't know. It's not a mammal, it's a robot. But we'll let that slide for now. She also has these really odd elements to her design. These really long middle fingers. I mean, I don't even want to speculate what those are for, to be quite frankly, but it does mean that you can put her in some rather interesting poses. I like the fact that she gives the finger and does it with grandiose style. Her face sculpt is also really interesting. It's overtly feminine rather than robotic, more so than any of its predecessors' face sculpts. It also has multiple eyes on its helmet here, and you can make them blink. It's a really redundant but nice little gimmick. It's unobtrusive, it looks rather good, the kind of gimmick I can get behind. I don't mind that at all. It doesn't have any silly blinking lights or flashing noises or anything like that. Whirring, clanking, silly, coggy, mechanical, battery requiring cuntitude is what I would call it. No, it doesn't have any of that. It's not required. It's just a really well designed, solid, very solid toy indeed. She's lovely, and if you can get a hold of her, then do so. She's a lovely, lovely toy. However, Beast Machine's Black Arachnia, beautiful though she may be, pales. Absolutely pales in comparison to the toy that came before. Towards the end of the Beast Wars line, we had the Transmetal 2s. The Transmetal 2s were highly experimental, very unusual aesthetically. They went for an asymmetrical design, so that you had sort of more organic details on one side and more technological on the other. Very, very nice. Didn't always work. There are a couple of Transformers from that range which are a bit but it does contain some of the very finest Transformers ever made too. Transmetal 2 Megatron, Tigerhawk, and this lady was poorly distributed. There wasn't many made of her, so she is rather difficult to get a hold of, but she's a Transformer that every fan of Transformers should own. And I know I say it so often, but if you are one of these people who's a bit about Beast Wars, and I know a couple of you are, this is the one to start with. This will sell you. I mean, it will ruin you as well. That would be an issue. There's hardly anything in the Beast Wars line that's as good as this. So you'll be starting off with the very best. But it will sell you. I guarantee it. This is one of the most beautiful, aesthetically beautiful Transformers ever created. It's obviously been designed just to be beautiful, to be very, very distinct, and to appeal to that very unusual cyberpunk quality that the Transmetal 2s were really going for. Beast Wars grew up really, really fast. The toys went through a range of evolutions, from the original toys to the Transmetals to the Transmetal 2s, and when it reached this stage, they were basically appealing to adult collectors at this point. This isn't a children's toy. There's no way a child could play with this without breaking it. That is one thing. It's rather fragile, this toy. It's rather flimsy. But that really doesn't matter. Just gaze in awe at it. I mean, I don't need to say a damn thing. I think it sells itself. It is beautiful. Now, interestingly, she actually looks more like a tarantula than Tarantulas does. She's got the sort of big, bloated abdomen, and the way her eyes situated looks more like a tarantula as well, and her legs are more reminiscent of a tarantula. But, unlike tarantulas, she has true spider fangs that close inwards like that. God, Spiderformers. Why were there never any Spiderformers before? I wonder what a G1 Spiderformer would have looked like. In fact, it probably would have been boxy and shite, to be fair. But even so, I would like to see more Spiderformers, please. Definitely more Spiderformers. Have there been any? Yeah, there was animated Black Arachnia. She's alright. She's fine. She's actually based on this girl. She's based on Transmetal 2 Black Arachnia. But she's not a patch. Not a patch on this. But then again, nothing is. Nothing's a patch on Transmetal 2 Black Arachnia. She has a nice little gimmick in this mode. You see that there? That's her spark crystal. It's set to Predacon at the moment. But you can, with a little bit of effort, there we are, flip it around, and she also has a maximal spark crystal as well. That is just a fantastic attention to detail, and demonstrates how the toy line was being informed by the mythology in the show at this point. Just lovely. I mean, it's a brilliant, brilliant concept. I mean, it doesn't marry completely with the mythology, because by this point she was more or less completely maximal. In fact, that was in the show. That was the sort of the point of her reformatting into this mode. That she was purged of the last of the Predacon shell program that made her a Predacon. Fuck off. But yeah, there she is in all her gorgeousness in her spider mode. Interestingly, like all of the Transmetal 2s, she also has these interesting redundant bits that almost certainly were originally going to be part of some crappy half-assed tertiary mode. She's got these wheels on the side of her abdomen that don't do anything. Absolutely nothing at all. They have no function. And these as well, that look like they originally moved or something, but don't anymore. They're just there. She obviously had some sort of, I don't know, ground vehicle mode at one time, but they decided to drop it, and probably for good reason. I'm fairly certain it was shite. So there we are, a little suggestion of redundant gimmicks, which is something you find throughout the Transmetal 2 range. Right then, onto her robot mode. Well, there you are. There you go, YouTube. If you need anything else to convince you that you need this Transformer, then it is entirely beyond me. She is stunningly beautiful. Such an unusual aesthetic for a Transformer. How was it Ray described her? Ray did her recently in his one of his comeback reviews. Oh yes, he did the RC repaint of her. Yes, there is, believe it or not, a repaint of this toy, a BotCon exclusive, which is RC. It's the Beast Machines era, Generation 1 RC. And by that point, I like RC better at that point because she's ruined and she's neurotic and she's murderous. Much, much, much more interesting than the sort of secretary, babysitter, sexist shite that she is in Generation 1. Actually, that is sort of how I regard Black Arachnia. I love Black Arachnia is such a much more appealing female character. She is herself. She is very, very, I hesitate to use the term, but she's strong. She's very, very much herself. She is violent and aggressive and very, very self-assured, which I much prefer to the simpering, ridiculous jellyfish that is RC. In fact, that's what RC should have been in Beast Wars, quite frankly. She should have been a jellyfish or something else without a spine. Anyway, that rant over. Just look at her. That's how Ray described her. He said that these things, the legs coming up, make her almost look like something from the Dark Crystal, a Skeksis or something like that. And I couldn't agree more. She has a dark aesthetic, a look that is very, very odd for a Transformer. Thanks to all of the spines and protrusions and blades that she has, she looks threatening. She looks like a Predacon. She does not look like a Maximal in this mold at all. She is Predacon to my mind. And in the little universe, the ideal Transformers universe that goes on inside my mind, Black Arachnia becomes a Predacon again and is somehow reformatted back into her Transmetal form because it is much more appealing. It's much more suitable as her ultimate form. It's so beautiful. And again, like Tarantulas, what I love is that they've given her aesthetic is very like Tarantulas's. They've tried to show a definite, almost familial link between the two, which makes perfect sense because, of course, Tarantulas is her creator. And her longtime nemesis as well. They fucking hate one another. Their relationship did not end on the best of terms, let us put it that way. She does have a sort of half-arsed gimmick in this mode. You can twist her waist round and put one of her legs out, and when you press the head down it flips round, so she does like a kick sort of thing to emphasise the fact that she is a martial artist. She is trained in all manner of Cybertronian martial arts, but it really doesn't add anything to the toy. You don't need it, and it doesn't really work that well anyway, not on most of the moulds of this I've seen. She is phenomenal. I tell you, it looks like if she got into close quarters with any other Transformer, she would massacre them. She also has this interesting array here over her breasts. Originally this was released without that purple bit, and she does have rather prominent breasts underneath there. Apparently someone at Hasbro thought, oh dear, that's not very family oriented, is it? Let's cover her breasts. Let's give her something that you can remove. I mean, let's give her a bra, basically. Yeah, on many of these you can remove that. You can't on mine. Mine is one of the ones where it's glued on. But on many Black Arachnias you can actually remove this. So, I mean, words fail. I honestly don't want to think about what some of the lonelier Transformers fans out there get from this toy. Let me put it that way. I mean, that is something to be said for this toy. It is the most overtly female Transformer in existence, and also, I suppose you could say, the most overtly sexualized. But I will forgive it all of that, because it's It's just beautiful. It's, for me, thus far, this is the definitive female Transformer toy, and also the definitive female Transformers character. The only other female Transformers I really want, I want animated RC because I like her, and I want Striker from Beast Machines because Striker is, well, how to put this delicately, she's butch. She's very butch indeed, and I rather like that. Quite possibly the first overtly lesbian Transformer, quite possibly. Now that would make an interesting topic for a video, I think. Transformers and their potential sexualities. No, we just, no, won't go there. Anyway, Black Arachnias, you must have them all. There isn't a bad Black Arachnia toy, you need them all, but if you only get one, get this one. This is where it's at, ladies and gentlemen. Top 10, this is top 5. This is top 2. This could be top.